She grabbed him by the lapel. To be precise, she turned away from the door of the bar, saw her ex-boyfriend walking in with his new girlfriend, the one he had left her for, the one he had apparently already been seeing for the last 4 months of their 2-year relationship, and she turned to the nearest man at the bar and grabbed him by the lapel of his very good suit and said, "I need you to kiss me. Right now, I'll explain later." He looked at her. He was the kind of man who took a moment before doing anything. She could feel it, even in that moment, the pause of someone who does not act without deciding to. He looked at her face. He looked at the door she had been facing when she turned. He looked back at her. "All right," he said. And he kissed her. Not the perfunctory kiss of a man doing a stranger a social favor. Not the performative kiss of a man playing a role in someone else's theater. He kissed her the way you kiss someone when you have decided to actually do the thing you are doing, with attention, with presence, with both hands, one at her waist and one at the side of her jaw, and the rest of the bar faded in the specific way that bars fade when something is happening that is more real than everything else in the room. She had said, "Kiss me." She had not said, "Kiss me," like that. When he stopped, he didn't step back. He stayed close enough that she could see his eyes clearly, and what was in them was not the satisfaction of a man who has done a good deed, but something more complicated. Something that looked like a question he had not asked aloud. "Did that work?" he said. She looked past his shoulder. Her ex had seen. He was standing near the entrance with his girlfriend, and he had clearly seen. And his face had done the specific thing she had needed it to do, registered her as something other than the woman he had felt comfortable leaving without consequences. "Yes," she said. "Good." He went back to his drink. She stood there for a moment, aware that her heart was doing something that was not entirely attributable to the performance. She had intended to thank him, or to explain, or to do any of the things you do after asking a stranger to kiss you in a bar. Instead, she said, "Why did you agree to that?" He picked up his glass. "You said you'd explain later. I was curious what the explanation was going to be. I haven't explained yet." "I know." He glanced at her. "What's your name?" She told him. He told her his. He told her his name was Eli, which was short for something longer that he didn't offer and she didn't ask about. They talked for 40 minutes, about the bar, about the city, about the particular absurdity of the situation they were in, which they did not discuss directly, but which was present in everything they said, like a frequency running under a conversation. She told him she was starting a new job the next morning. He said that was good timing for a Tuesday. She said it was Wednesday. He said he had lost track. She left at 11. He did not ask for her number, which she noted. She did not offer it, which she also noted. She walked home in the particular warm confusion of someone who had meant to do a small, practical thing and had accidentally done something much larger. She had told him to kiss her like he meant it. He had. She thought about that on the walk home. She thought about the pause before he agreed, the specific quality of it, the pause of someone who is actually deciding, rather than performing the appearance of deciding. She thought about both hands. She thought about the question he hadn't asked aloud, and the fact that she didn't know what the question was, and also knew, in the way you know things you haven't admitted yet, exactly what it was. She thought about it until she turned the key in her door, and then she filed it firmly in the category of irrelevant and went to bed. She did not sleep especially well. If you have ever done something practical and found out too late that it wasn't practical at all, that the practical thing and the real thing had been the same thing without your permission, then stay with me, because what happened at 9 o'clock the next morning is going to stay with you. And if someone you know needs this story tonight, please share it before you keep watching. She was the third person through the door of Vane & Associates at 8:47 a.m. She had her portfolio under her arm. She had her ID for the badge office. She had rehearsed her introduction to the creative director 4 times on the walk over and had decided she was ready for a new beginning, which is the thing people decide when they are standing at the edge of something and need the decision to already be made. She walked into the main conference room for the new hire orientation. He was standing at the head of the table. Not Eli from the bar Eli. Not Eli in a sports coat with a drink in his hand. Eli in the same very good suit, with a name card in front of his chair that read Elias Vane, founder and CEO, and the particular posture of a man in a room that belongs to him in the most literal possible sense. He saw her the moment she came through the door. She watched him see her. She watched the recognition, clean, immediate, undeniable, and she watched him make a decision about it, very quickly, in the space of 2 seconds, and the decision he made was to do nothing. He looked at the next person through the door. He continued reviewing the document in front of him. He gave no outward indication whatsoever that the woman who had grabbed him by the lapel and asked him to kiss her 14 hours ago had just walked into his conference room for her first day of work. She sat down. She put her portfolio on the table. She looked at her hands. She thought, I am going to be professional about this if it kills me. He was professional. He was completely, impeccably professional. Clear, precise, direct in the way that people are direct when they are genuinely competent rather than performing competence. He ran the orientation the way she imagined he ran everything, efficiently, without waste, asking questions that revealed he had actually read the files in front of him rather than being briefed on them 30 seconds prior. At one point he asked a question about the new market positioning. A genuine question, open to the room, and she answered before she meant to. It came out of her the way answers come out when the question is genuinely interesting and the thinking is already done, complete, specific, with a follow-up observation that she hadn't planned to share. He looked at her. That's correct, he said, and the follow-up is better than the answer. 4 people at the table looked at her. She looked at her portfolio. After the orientation, a woman named Desi, who had been at the company for 3 years and who had, Mara would learn, an exhaustive mental database of every significant event that occurred in a 12-block radius, appeared at her elbow and said, "Very quietly, I saw you at the Meridian last night." Mara turned. Desi was smiling with the suppressed excitement of someone carrying information she has not yet decided what to do with. "With our CEO," she said, kissing him. Mara held very still. "It was a complicated situation," she said. "I can see that," Desi said cheerfully. "Don't worry, I'm not going to say anything. But I thought you should know someone knows." She paused. "He looked at you during the positioning question like you were the most interesting thing that's happened to him since the last quarter earnings. Just so you have that data point." She walked off before Mara could respond. Mara stood in the corridor and understood that her new beginning was already significantly more complicated than she had planned for. The background to last night, which she had not told Eli, now Elias, was this. She and her ex, Rowan, had been together for 2 years. He was a creative director at a competitor firm. This was, in retrospect, a structurally inadvisable arrangement. And he had ended their relationship in March by telling her, with the specific confidence of a man who has rehearsed the speech, that she was talented but not ambitious enough for the direction his life was heading. He had said this over dinner, at a restaurant she had chosen, on a Thursday evening. He had introduced the new girlfriend to their shared social circle on a Friday. She had sat with that for approximately 72 hours. Then, she had applied for the Vane & Associates position on the following Monday. Because she was not unambitious, she was simply ambitious about different things than Rowan, And one of the things she was ambitious about was never being in the same professional tier as a man who had explained her limitations to her on a Thursday and moved on by Friday. She had not expected the CEO of Vane & Associates to be the man from the bar. She had also not expected, in 4 months of job applications and interviews and careful professional rebuilding, to think about the man from the bar as often as she had. Which was more than once. Which was more than professional. Which was a thing she had classified as irrelevant and filed in the part of her mind reserved for things that were irrelevant and should stay that way. Rowan appeared at the Vane & Associates client reception 6 weeks later. He was there as a +1 for a mutual colleague who had not known, or had not thought to check, that his former creative director and his current guest had history. He came through the door at 7:15, saw Mara across the room, and did the specific thing men do when they see the person they underestimated doing better than expected. He made his way toward her with the particular warmth of someone who has retroactively decided they parted on good terms. "Mara," he said, "I heard you landed here. That's great. Really great." "Thank you," she said. "Vane does good work," he said. He looked around the room with the assessing eye of a competitor. "Though I've heard the new positioning is a bit," he tilted his hand, "safe, you know. For a firm that used to be more interesting, I think the positioning is working," she said. Sure, he smiled. "You always did see the glass half full." She was about to respond when Elias appeared beside her, not dramatically, not with any performance. He appeared the way he did most things, with a decision already made and no need to announce it. He put his hand briefly at the small of her back, not proprietary, not claiming, just present, and said to Rowan, "The new positioning added 14 points to our client retention rate last quarter." "I'm Elias Vane." He extended his hand. "You were saying it was safe?" Rowan shook his hand. His smile had shifted into a different register. "I'm sure the numbers tell the story," Rowan said. "They do," Elias said pleasantly. He looked at Mara. He did not look at Rowan again. Rowan excused himself shortly after. He did not return to say goodbye. Later, when the event had thinned to the people who were there because they wanted to be rather than because they felt they should be, Elias found her near the windows. "He's the one from the bar," he said. It was not a question. "Yes," she said. "He called you unambitious." She looked at him. "How do you know that?" "Because I read the candidate profiles. Yours mentioned a gap period you explained as time to recalibrate after a significant professional setback. And the way you answered the positioning question on day 1 wasn't the answer of someone who lacks ambition. It was the answer of someone who'd been told they did and hadn't finished proving it wrong yet." He was looking at the city through the window. "I've thought about what you said in the bar, about starting a new job the next morning. I didn't say much." "No, but you explained about the X, eventually, in the subtext." He paused. "You're the most interesting person in any room you walk into. I want you to know I noticed that before I knew it was also professionally convenient." Mara looked at him. "You're my employer," she said. "Currently," he said. "That's a significant currently." "I know." He turned from the window. "I'm not asking you to decide anything tonight. I'm asking you to have the data." She thought about the bar, the lapel of the suit, this suit probably, or one like it. The pause of a man deciding whether to do something before he did it. Both hands. The question he hadn't asked aloud. "You went back for your drink," she said. He looked at her. "I went back for my drink because if I'd stayed standing there looking at you, I'd have asked for your name and your number, and you would have thought it was part of the favor. I needed you to leave first." She held that. "I'm going to need some time," she said. "I have time," he said. He was not a man who said things without having thought about them first. She believed him. Desi found her the next morning with coffee and the expression of someone who has correctly predicted a significant development and is exercising admirable restraint about it. "He was watching you the whole last hour of the event," Desi said. "Just so you have that data point, too." Mara took the coffee. "You're going to tell people," she said. "I am not going to tell anyone anything," Desi said. "But I am going to be very smug when it becomes unnecessary to tell anyone anything. Because it will have become obvious." She was right. It became obvious in stages, the kind of stages that are only visible in retrospect. The way a picture develops in a darkroom. Nothing, and then something, and then suddenly the whole shape of it clear. 2 years after the bar, on a Saturday morning in September, Mara sat in a kitchen that was not hers alone anymore and looked at a test on the counter that had 2 lines on it, and looked at Elias, who had been standing very still for approximately 10 seconds. "Say something," she said. He looked at her. He looked at the test. He looked back at her with the expression she had first seen in the bar, the complicated one, the one that was a question and an answer at the same time. "I'm going to need a minute," he said. "You have a minute." He took approximately 4 seconds. Then he laughed. The laugh of a man who has received something he did not plan for and finds that the unplanned thing is the best possible thing, and crossed the kitchen and held her face in both hands, the same way he had in the bar when she had told him to kiss her like he meant it. 2. The doctor would tell them, 6 weeks later, over the image on the screen. 2 heartbeats. She looked at Elias. He looked at her. "You said you needed a minute," she said. "I've had several minutes," he said. "I'm ready." He had always been ready. That was the thing she had understood about him. Slowly, and then all at once, that the pause before he did anything was not hesitation, but intention. He was always ready. He just waited until he was sure it was the right thing before he moved. He had moved, that Tuesday night in the bar, when a woman he had never met grabbed him by the lapel and said, "Please." He had been moving toward her ever since. There are accidents that are not accidents. Moments that look like impulse and turn out to be the most deliberate thing you ever did. You reach for something practical, a shield, an excuse, a favor from a stranger, and your hands find the real thing before your brain has had time to veto it. She told him to kiss her like he meant it. He had meant it from the first second. If this story found you at the right moment tonight, please share it and subscribe, because the next one is already waiting.